Good day to you all, comrades and friends. Thanks for the invitation to be here with you today. I want to apologize for not being physically present. So let me start by extending my sincerest condolences to Lydia-Anne, Lydia-Anne in the first instance, but also to the greater Plaikis and Padiachi families, and to all of you as comrades and friends. A little reminder that Daniel opted to walk a hard road in life. He undertook work to be an excellent public servant. He retained family and friends, and he studied towards his PhD all at the same time. And I remember talking to him while he was working at his PhD, and he explained to me that the one reason that he wanted to excel at this was because he wanted his mother and his family to be proud of his achievement. Of course, if you can add PhD behind your name, you also earn the right to be heard. And in spite of all of these achievements, Daniel remained as Daniel was. Plat op die grond, Daniel plaatjies van die Bonteville. Daniel had no airs and graces. Daniel was Daniel, but he had achieved magnificently. It's important to recognize that Daniel is part of that generation, as I'm sure most of us are, who had the responsibility in history to tear down the apartheid system and then to build a democracy without a pause between the one process and the other. Daniel was assisted by his curiosity. How do you make democracy work? How do you make democracy work in a way that you measure that democracy in improvements in the lives of the poorest of our people? How do you make democracy work so that we always understand that that song we sang in our youth, Forward We Shall March, as a destination that is ongoing, a destination that was not arrived at on the 27th of April, 1994, but a destination that still requires of us to pursue the path to a freedom that works in the lives of all of our people, especially the poorest. If you look at Daniel's life's work, it was essentially in that. His PhD focuses on health systems, but he moved quickly from there to social security, and then on to the development of SASSA, and then into education, where at WITS he could transfer his skills. He went on to the HSRC to multiply the skill set, and then to the FFC. All of it has been on one continuous path, and that path is the search to ensure that we can improve on the lives of the poorest of our people. There's a song that I want to recite a few lines from. It's a song that was done in honor of Vincent van Gogh. And the words go, how you try to set them free. They did not listen, they did not know how, perhaps they listen now. You see, because Daniel's work was to take forward the spirit of these great martyrs and strugglers who grew up with him in Bonteheuvel. I don't need to rehearse all of those names. Many of them were involved in the tearing down, but Daniel wanted to take forward the spirit of their work by focusing on the building process that follows later. And this is the question that he asked. He asked how you can deliver democracy without focusing on the capacity of the state. How do you measure poverty? How do you measure improvements? How do you measure the ability to deliver services? These are not polite questions, but they always must be asked because we have to continually engage with them. And this essentially was then Daniel's work. And so his work, if you look at his books, it's about future inheritance. What democracy do we leave for our children? It's about the state of the nation. That tough question, who's actually in charge? And Daniel asks the question to ensure that this process is not just about a series of projects, a road here, a bridge there, a new housing project there. He asks, how can a diverse nation whose social, political, and legal history has been so divisive be led by a representative state that promotes nation building and social cohesion with all the institutions of a democratic constitutional state? Our right to be constitutional, our right to a democracy, our right to be free, being who we are and what we are, but our right and responsibility to ensure that our freedom is actually in that diversity, allowing us to be. And so it's an ongoing impolite question. It's that question that was asked by the poet Ingrid, or raised by the poet Ingrid Jonker. Die kind is nie dood nie. Die kind lig sy vuiste teen sy moeder wat Afrika skree die geur van vryheid en helde in die lokasies van die omsingelde hart. And so that child with the raised fist is still very much part of South Africa, and it's a story that we encounter in respect of those who we left behind. It's that story that was the subject of Daniel's curiosity and his research. And so it's that we must take forward. It's understanding that democracy is a process that must be built. You know, Madiba once quoted a Chinese proverb that goes, a falling tree makes a lot more noise than a growing forest. Daniel's work was growing the forest of democracy measured in the lives of our people. And because that process is incomplete, I want to end by saying, to Daniel and his work, we must pledge a luta continua.